Hey folks, just an update here. When Ladi and I filmed this, I had a setting on that was putting guidelines on my screen. I didn't realize until midway through, so had to do a little bit of After Effects to get that out. Still looks a little bit wonky, but I did my best. But I'm making the executive decision to not refilm because Ladi and I had such an excellent conversation. There was no way we would ever recapture the spontaneity of that. So I think it's still a great Ladi's Rockucation, but I'm leaving it as it is. Hopefully you enjoy it. Please let me know in the comments if you did, and I'll see you for the outro. Here we go, Ladi's Rockucation. How's it going, folks? I'm Mark.
I'm Ladi.
And this is a Ladi's Rockucation.
A Ladi's Rockucation. Oh, no. A Rockucation is a video where Mark exposes me to music that I would never normally listen to in my own life. What are you giving me now, Mark?
So we've looked at a lot of like rock and heavy metal stuff, and
Yes.
You've asked before. I've mentioned grunge. You've asked about grunge. We've never really covered grunge on the channel.
Yeah, I've never really understood what grunge means.
And the reason why we've never really covered it, I've like skirted around it a little bit, but the reason we've never covered it, it was so emotional for me, like that time period of music, and the fact that all of my heroes from that time period either took themselves out, they died by their own hands, or they died because of alcohol or drugs. So painful. And so it's been one of those things on the channel where Todd and I have talked about it. How do we cover it without getting overly emotional and that kind of thing? So I thought we would start by just me introducing you to a grunge band that not many people know about, that I thought was a cool band, and then maybe see if we can dip our toes in the water.
Sounds fine to me.
So we're going to take a look at L7. Now, a lot of people...
Is that like a vertebra?
Yeah, I think so. I don't know what they named that after. It's an all-female band. They started out in the mid-'80s, and then they were together until the mid-'90s. And one of the things about grunge that's kind of important to understand is that, number one, the grunge players would not have called themselves that. They would have called themselves either punk or surf or heavy metal or whatever. But grunge started in Seattle, specifically with one label called Sub Pop. So Sub Pop was an interesting label where they would just kind of make handshake agreements with bands. Bands like Mudhoney, L7, Nirvana, all of these bands, they would just kind of make handshake deals because they were just a fly-by-night label. And then almost every band they did that with blew up and then signed with other labels and went on to do major, major things.
Okay, so I'm going to ask you something. If they were called surf, or what did you call them?
Either punk or heavy metal.
So how did grunge become an overarching category for them?
It was an advertising thing. So honestly, grunge came about because journalists were trying to find a way to describe this new sound that was coming out of Seattle. Previously, the sounds for rock and roll and heavy metal were coming out of LA and New York. In Seattle, there was this huge scene that blew up, and the reason it was called grunge was because a lot of times these bands were kind of broke. They didn't have any type of backing, and their equipment sounded shitty. So they were running through Marshall amps turned all the way up, and it was making it sound distorted and grungy. And so journalists started calling them grunge bands.
Did they like, or
a lot of them did not.
Okay.
In fact, I feel like L7 would probably say we're not a grunge band, which is, a second ago I said a lot of people would dispute the fact they're grunge. I think L7 might even dispute the fact themselves.
Wow.
But for me, they fit right into that category.
Okay.
Now, one of the other typifying things about grunge is kind of the lyrical content. So there's a real existential angst with grunge. And what I mean by that is with heavy metal and punk, there is this idea that we could fight the establishment, right?
Yes.
We could fight, and if we uniform, we'll overcome them. And you can see that in a lot of their lyrics. Oh. With grunge, there's a realization that we're fucked, and the system has won.
I was afraid you were going to say that. Now this makes me feel sad.
There's an existential angst and heaviness to it that...
How could it not be?
We'll be together at the end of the world. That's how it always feels to me.
Okay.
So to me, that's kind of like the overarching theme of grunge music. So what we're going to listen to is a track by L7. It's an all-female band. The track is Pretend We're Dead. Now, the song was written by Donita Sparks, and Donita Sparks has said that the song was written because she had gone through a really terrible breakup, and she told herself as she was writing lyrics that the only way I'm going to get over this is to pretend that he's dead. Not that she wanted him to die, but she's explained that to get over it, I had to pretend like he didn't exist. And
I can think of some exes that would have been a good thing. Yeah, I get it. I get that.
So that was kind of how she started this. But then L7, with the help of Dave Grohl from Foo Fighters, started a festival that was about reproductive rights and stuff like that. So they started a festival that was about reproductive rights, about women's rights for abortion and health care. And then they were also, this is in the mid-90s, so they were also just incensed about the war in Iraq. So this song took on that first meaning as well as those other meanings.
Everything else.
Yeah. So let's dive into it. L7, Pretend We're Dead. Before we really dive into the lyrics, what are you thinking so far?
I like this.
So this is kind of grungy. A lot of Nirvana sounds like this.
But it also reminds me of a lot of not the disco-y new wave, but a lot of the funky new wave that was a mixture of new wave and punk, like you said.
So there's a swing to it that isn't really there in a lot of other music. There's like a groove to it.
Yes.
And one of the things that Donita Sparks has said is that their drummer was really influenced by Public Enemy. And so kind of that hip-hop stuff is in there. One of the other things that's interesting to me is, number one, the sound. I'm pretty sure you can hear kind of the distortion on the guitar and stuff. But those are all like pretty much open chords. So I can show you in a second, but like that riff, super easy to do. Like completely easy to do. But it's distorted, and it sounds dirty or grungy. And again, that was what typified that sound, was that static.
But I'm going to say this: it's a happy chord.
100% is.
Right?
Yeah, it is.
Okay.
Yeah. See, this is what I mean by that existential angst. They've got us in their palm of their hands, so just pretend that we're dead. This is a theme that would carry over into Nirvana. So one of the refrains in Smells Like Teen Spirit is turn the lights off. Like basically like just we're here, we're going to be together, but just leave us alone. Yeah. Yeah, it's too dangerous, turn the lights off. This whole concept of we're screwed, but we're together. So let's just do this.
God.
When we pretend that we're dead, they can't hear a word we say. When we pretend that we're dead.
Now, Donita Sparks has said in interviews that line, they can't hear a word we've said when we pretend that we're dead, was her version of trying to provide a call to action. So she's writing about pretend that we're dead. That's kind of sitting in Gen X, that angsty existentialism. But she said she added that they can't hear a word that we've said when we pretend that we're dead. That was her way of providing a call to action for Gen X. We've got to take a stand.
But how do you take a stand without letting people know you're taking a stand?
I mean, with the lyrics, I guess that's the only political.
See, this is interesting to me because it's
activator
also
they have.
It actually makes it sound like any like The Handmaid's Tale, where all this stuff, everything's going on, and all this other stuff is going on underneath, and you don't let people know what you're doing. You don't tell them of your plans. You're not out there rioting and protesting. You're doing everything under the covers, under the dark, where people can't see it. Not that you're not getting stuff done,
right?
But you're not getting stuff done where they can catch you.
I think the thing that they would say is this is only going out to our people. right? This is a call to action specifically
To our people.
to our people.
I like that.
Yeah. Isn't that catchy?
I love this.
That was added by the drummer who was a fan of Public Enemy. And Danita Sparks said, I feel like that was kind of her way of tapping into hip hop stuff. Was adding that, come on, come on, come on, come on. It's great, isn't it?
It is.
It's so catchy.
It's such a catchy song.
Yeah, it's kind of earwormy, honestly.
Turn the tables with our unity. They're neither moral nor majority. Wake up and smell the coffee, or just say no to individuality.
Now, that is a very political verse.
Yeah.
Yeah, so turn the tables on our unity. They're neither moral nor majority. Now, a lot of folks don't recognize that. Can you describe?
Jerry Falwell, the
What
Moral Majority, which was a religious organization that came out against basically humans.
Yeah.
Unless you were a white Christian.
That's right. Yeah. And one of the other things that you'll find interesting is how inclusive the grunge movement was. So, as a young kid who grew up in a rural area, gay folks were not something that I saw. Just wasn't, because either they hid it or they moved away. And in Nirvana's first album, Kurt Cobain writes about, if you're not a friend of the LGBT community, you're not a friend of mine, don't fucking buy our albums.
Really?
And for a young kid who had never been exposed to that, like I essentially knew one gay person as a kid, that was a real eye-opener. And I feel like specifically grungy Gen X people, for that brief moment between 1991 and 1994, we had a group of voices that were speaking to inclusivity. And I think we see it here. Turn the tables with our unity. They're neither moral nor majority. They're fighting against that Jerry Falwell's moral majority. They're neither
When was
moral.
this? When is this?
This is, let me make sure I get the date right on this. So this becomes from 1992.
Okay.
Yeah, this is from their album, let's see, Bricks Are Heavy. Yeah.
Okay.
It's great, right?
Yes, it is. I like this a lot.
I knew you would.
When we pretend that we're dead, they can't hear a word we say. When we pretend that we're
And I know it's a nerdy music thing, but those are Marshall stacks. Those are the amps that they have right there. That's like a quintessential rock and roll amplifier.
Is that right?
Yeah. So that distorted sound comes from turning those Marshall amps all the way to the top. Like, we don't have pedals, so you know what? Let's just
This turn all the way up.
turn them all the way up. Now, one of the other things that I've read is that apparently in filming this, they had a lot of problem with the director and the production people because they wanted them to be more female looking. They were very unhappy. The production folks were very unhappy with how L7 dressed, how they presented themselves in the video, and apparently fought them every step on trying to get them to wear like little baby doll outfits.
Well, it's a good thing they didn't let them do that, because this speaks out to a whole group of women who wouldn't have wanted to pay attention to that in the first place.
and would be offended by it.
Yes, they would have. I like them. I like them like this. It reminds me. Why does everyone? Do you remember Heart?
100%. Ann Wilson is a fantastic singer.
But you remember that during one of the videos, they actually made it look like her sister was singing. I can't remember. It was one of the ballads.
I don't remember that one.
Yeah, they let the sister act like she was lip syncing the whole song because Ann is a chunky woman and her sister was not, and they were afraid that it would ruin the audience that they were reaching for Hart, which Hart wouldn't have cared because Hart was always about the music. But that's what they made them do.
Wow.
So absolutely, this is the way. I'm glad they didn't make him do anything. I'm glad they let him. They were themselves as they should be.
I feel like if they had listened to the record label, they would not have been like this. Because, like I said, one of the things that kind of is a distinguishing figure about L7 is how pushed to the side they were. So they were friends with like Nirvana and all those guys. Like they were within that group. And because they were a female band, there was really no place for them. And they talk a lot about how the label wanted them to dress more like what they considered female.
Of course.
They also wanted to like pit them against other female bands. So there was another band, Babes in Toyland or whatever, and one of the articles in Rolling Stone was like, L7, they're no babes in Toyland. Like they're trying to pit them against others. And Donita Sparks has said in several interviews, you never see that with like male bands.
No, you don't.
You never see like... talking about Extreme, Nuno Betancourt, he's no Eddie Van Halen. Like, that's not how articles start. But she said that every article about them was like, they're no Courtney Love or they're no Babes in Toy. Can we just, like, be us?
Yeah. Can they just do what they do and do it well?
Right.
Leave them alone.
But the media, that was not a narrative that sold stuff.
You know what the problem is? It is a narrative that would have sold stuff had they ever allowed that narrative to exist.
True.
But you don't.
No.
You know, it makes me mad.
It's aggravating, right?
Yes, it is. It's because I like them.
I know.
And I've never heard of them until now. And I like this.
I'll tell you one piece of trivia about, I think it's Donita Sparks at the end, that I don't know if you'll find to be you might like it. I don't know.
Oh no!
You're gonna be. I got the thing up. You're gonna be disgusted by it. I'm gonna tell you that part.
Oh no!
You're gonna be disgusted.
Hurt any animals, did she?
No.
Oh, okay.
No,
Thank
we
you.
wouldn't even be watching it if that happened.
Okay, good. I feel better.
They can't hear all the word we say when we pretend that we're dead.
This is so much fun.
It's great, isn't it?
I am. You know, you've introduced me to a lot of stuff. This is one of the first things that you've introduced me to. I would say, had I ever heard them, I would have gone out and bought this
Is that
right
true?
away. Yes, I love this.
Oh my gosh!
I absolutely love this.
This is a 100% win on my part. Then.
You did good.
It's catchy, isn't it?
It is.
I also feel like this is you saying that is a good indication about how you'll receive the rest of grunge.
Oh, well, this is good.
Because I mean, some of them was a little bit harder, but for the most part, not. Most grunge is just guitars turned all the way up, but with lyrics very similar to this.
Well, see, and I like the lyrics because I get that. I get that feeling that all we've got is each other.
That's it, and everything else is against us.
Yeah.
So rally together,
So
folks.
let's do it. Let's
have
do it ourselves.
Fun and make change, but that's all we got. And I don't know if you can hear it because we've got the studios down low, but at the end there's this at the end. And I don't know what it is, but I've always loved that vocalization. Let's see if we can hear it.
Okay, I love this.
It's great, right?
I absolutely love this. This is so nice.
I'm so glad you enjoyed this one.
And so did they put out one album, several? Or?
No, like 7 or 8.
Really?
Yeah, they put out a ton of stuff. Like I said, it was more just the fact that they were kind of a female band and there was no place for them. So I don't know if you watched that documentary on Woodstock 99.
No.
It was on Hulu. So there's that documentary about the Woodstock. So Woodstock 94 apparently went like okay, but Woodstock 99 is the one where people set shit on fire and there was riots and all that kind of stuff. One of the things that a number of bands talked was that on that lineup there was one female every night there was 4 nights. There was only one female per day. And it was because the organizers was like, yeah, people don't pay for female performers. So there was like Alanis Morissette and I think, was it Jewel? I'd have to go back and look. Oh, but in any case, there was literally one female every night by design. And Alanis Morissette has talked about it. She was like, it was really stifling. It was really apparent that I had one role, which was to be the female singer for that evening. And so I can't imagine how stifling, both like professionally, personally, and creatively, like that must be.
Well, yeah, because it's like you have no value other than the fact that you're the girl band. Right.
That's it. You're the girl band of the night. So the thing I was going to tell you about Donita Sparks, I don't know if you'll find this endearing or not.
Oh no, I'm afraid.
Apparently one of the concerts they were at, there were some guys making trouble up front, and they were trying to get them thrown out, and the security wasn't cooperating. And so to get them to leave, Donita takes her used tampon out on stage and busts one of the dudes in the head with it. From the stage, takes it out, and then smashes the guy in the head with it. That got him to leave. Hitting the head with a dirty tampon.
Okay, I'm going to say, while that might sound, it sounds gross, but actually it's endearing.
I didn't know how you would take it.
It makes me like her. I get that.
I didn't know how you would take it, but that's a true story, and I believe that there is video of Donita Sparks rearing back and then busting a poor guy in the head. Not poor guy, he should have been thrown out, but busting a dude in the head with a dirty tampon.
Well, why are they up there and making a... They knew they were coming to see them, right?
It's a festival, I think.
Okay.
So that means that you're just...
Some drunk guy being up there being a drunk guy.
Yeah.
Good for her. Good for her!
Well, folks, hopefully you enjoyed this one. Ladi, I'm glad that you liked this one.
I really did like this. You did a good job,
Maybe
Mark.
we'll dive into some more grunge stuff and see if you like it just as well.
I'm excited about this, actually.
Good.
I'm actually very excited
See,
about this.
I've always known you would find the lyrics interesting.
Yes, I do.
Good.
But this was also really... It's more melodic than the metal stuff that I listen to, that I've learned through you.
What I always think about when I think about grunge is a gumbo.
Okay.
I know that you're not a cooking guy, but from like a cooking perspective, a gumbo is a mix.
I thought you meant Gumby. And
No.
I was trying to figure that out, but gumbo, it's a food.
It's a food, and it's a mixture of different dishes. Like if you look at the history of it, it's from Haiti and from Africa and from France and all these different places. Grunge feels like a musical gumbo to me. Like where the Gen X kids were like, you know what, I'm going to take this from punk, and I'm going to take this from metal, and I'm going to take this from hip-hop, and I'm going to take this from ska, and I'm going to throw it all together, and it's going to be my thing. And then journalists came around and went like, that's grunge. And they're like, what? No. This was just like how I play music.
It's just me.
But to me, that's how grunge has always been.
Well, I like this. I like this a lot. You did good.
Well, folks, let us know in the comments what you think. Take care of yourselves. Ladi and I will see you soon.
Adios.
Hey there, folks. Hopefully you enjoyed that Ladi's Rockucation as much as Ladi and I enjoyed filming it. Hopefully the guidelines at the first weren't too distracting and you enjoyed our conversation. Please make sure you subscribe to the channel. Make sure you check out some of our other content. The co-founder of Like Minded Lunatics, Mr. Todd Wright, does a segment we call Drink, Play, Swear, which I think is a fun segment. That's where Todd has an adult beverage, plays an aggravating video game, and tries to tell you a story as he's doing all of those things. It's hysterical. You don't have to know anything about video games to make it fun. Additionally, Like Minded Lunatics is not just a YouTube channel. We also have a television show that airs every Friday night, 10 p.m. CST on Austin Music Television. Now, you don't actually have to live in the Austin market to watch it. If you want to stream that live, there's a link in the video description of every video here on YouTube. Just go down, you can click on that on Friday night and watch it with us live. If you would like access to our entire Austin Music TV library of episodes, you can become a patron. If you become a Like Minded Lunatics patron, you get access to our entire library plus every future episode that we air. So if you'd like to support us, it's a great way to do it, and you get a ton of content that you would not find here on YouTube. As we're fading out, let's do a little bit of pretend that we're dead. Come on, come on, come on.